Hey, deserving listeners, in preparation for the single life, I thought I'd go back in time and watch Tim and Jeniffer, because Jeniffer is going to be on the single life show. So let's watch.
Or did he not?
She was just like, let me know that you arrived safely.
That's crazy, Tim. You keep like that, talking with her all the time?
No, I mean...
I know, boring me. It's boring subject.
It is, you're right.
Okay, so I haven't been chiming in up until this point because, I don't know, I was just enjoying the show, I guess. But they've been building up to this conflict. He just arrived in Colombia, and she's been jealous of his relationship with his ex-partner, the mother of his child. And she's saying, why are you so much in contact with her? I don't want to hear about her. Essentially giving the message that Tim shouldn't be involved with his ex at all, even as a friend. And Tim is like, well, we're friends. Tim's ex-fiancé is pretty adamant about retaining that relationship. It's very important for her to be friends with Tim and to provide for their child, their daughter, that, they're one family and they can exist together, which is, really important. For those of you out there who come from families where your parents hated each other, it's stressful on the kids, for sure. And not always, but it can be. And so I'm fully in support of Tim's relationship with his ex, having a good relationship, even if it's, really close and friendly. It doesn't seem to be romantic to me at all. Seems that was over, they said, 4 years ago. And they fought a lot, so they're not really longing to be together, it sounds like. But anyway, and Jeniffer is jealous of that now, which is fine. But how do you communicate about that? Is there a cultural difference? I'm guessing that there is. We've seen other people say that from other parts of the world, they don't normalize those kinds of friendships as much as maybe people do in the States. I don't know if that's true about Colombia. Maybe I could ask my friend Humberto. But the issue here is, how do you talk about it? And how does he reassure Jeniffer that, look, I'm friends with her for sure, and I want to be friends with her, but there's no threat there. I'm in love with you. The second thing is that they've never met in person before. So they're, in my mind, in a sense, they just started dating 15 minutes ago. You could say in another sense, they've known each other for a long time. They've texted, they've video conferenced, but it's different when you're 3D with someone. So I think it's normal to have a lot of awkwardness and a lot of uncertainty, because why would you have certainty with someone you've literally never met in person before?
She took me to the airport, so she was just like, let me know that you got here.
She took you to the airport.
Well, yeah, I couldn't find anybody else to bring me.
I know. No.
And her attitude isn't very encouraging. It'd be one thing to say, I don't like this. I'm worried about this. She's up to no good. Jennifer's facial expression and the things she said up until this point is, I don't know how to characterize it. Earlier she's like, I'm bored with this conversation. Like, I don't know, that's what 13-year-olds will say, because obviously you're not bored with the conversation. You're hurt, you're jealous. But to say I'm bored is a particular layer of trying to act a certain way when something else is really happening inside of you. And then this facial expression is like, oh, no. And so, there's a more differentiated, functional way of communicating how you feel, of just like, hey, I don't like... Now, the other possibility I was thinking of is that maybe in her culture, or the way that she thinks, it is actually... It could come across like she doesn't care about him if she doesn't put up a fuss a little bit. It's sort of like when my family gets together, you're considered a bad family member if you don't put up a fuss about the check when you're going to a restaurant. It's okay to give in. If dad really wants to pay for dinner, then he's going to pay. But if you don't put up a fuss, then were you expecting dad to pay? So is she putting up a fuss because she feels like, look, if I don't put up a fuss, then that kind of gives you the message, Tim, that I'm not protective of you. That's a possibility.
It's not.
What are you doing, Tim? You want me to be friend of my exes too? And they call me and tell me, did you eat?
Well,
Did you arrive?
it's the same
Are
thing
you
like
good
with-
every day? The is she, your wife or what?
Okay, it's fine. She's bringing up a point. Like, do you want me to be friends with my ex all the time? I think it's a little different because for Tim, he was with her for a long time and they co-parent together. I think it would be perfectly reasonable if she were friends with her daughter's father. Where is he? Did they have a relationship at all? So, and I'm guessing Tim would be okay with that. But again, the way she's talking, it's not encouraging. Up until this point, I was like, okay, they seem like two reasonable, confident people. They seem like they're into each other. Maybe this will work out. But her way of communicating is not encouraging. I will also say that it's worth mentioning that Tim's ex had a going away party for Tim, and Jeniffer asked for Tim to send pictures of the party to reassure her that no shenanigans were going on. And they sent a selfie where Tim and the ex, I can't remember her name, were very close to each other, and it didn't look good. And I was like, why would you send that picture? And of course, Jeniffer got upset. So, Tim isn't helping in that way.
His ex texts to him all the time, and that's something that I'm not going to stand. Like a mom. Who does that with a man? A mom or a wife? Who is she in those two options?
She's an ex-wife, an ex-partner who cares. They're friends. They're very close. So in other cultures, they will frame it this way. I don't know if Colombia is like this, that as she's saying, you're either a mom or you're a wife. So which one, that's as a man, that's the only women you can talk to, either your wife or your mom, or I guess your sister, or someone you're dating or something like that. And there's no room for friend. I don't know about Colombia, but we've seen other cultures, like Julia will say. In our culture, I don't know if even that's true, but I guess I get it, but hopefully Tim can say, look, in my culture, it's normal to be friends with one's ex, and there's no threat there. And that's his job, is to help Jeniffer really know, look, we are just friends. We co-parent together. We care about each other. There is no threat there. I'm never going to be in a romantic or sexual relationship with her. Just think of her like as a family member, like my sister or something, just don't worry about that. But, it makes sense that she's insecure because they literally just met in person for the first time.
That's what I'm wondering.
And I already told you that I was bothered about it. And you keep, so I don't know.
No,
I don't understand.
I'm sorry.
I'm trying to be nice and made a party.
Yeah, sarcasm. It's not a good sign. She's saying, I keep. What? You kept telling him he can't be friends with his ex-fiancé, the mother of his child. He can't hang out with her. Like you're saying that's completely not okay. Now, I don't know what he's doing to help. Has he been feeding her information? Like, yeah, okay, I'll ditch her, and leading Jeniffer on. I don't know, but it's interesting. Whenever I watch a new couple on the show, I don't know why, but I'm always hopeful, and I always think things are going to work out. I don't know why. Why would that happen? This is a reality TV show. Of course, things are going to be train wrecks. And so when she started this style of communication, I'm like, oh no, stop it. Like, this is not, because in this moment, whatever, but it usually gets worse as things go forward. Now, I know that Jeniffer is on a single life. That's why I'm going back and watching this. So obviously it doesn't work out between the two of them. So let's continue watching why it doesn't work out.
Dressed like a whore and everything.
I mean, I don't know if she was dressed like a whore, but... Jennifer's really struggling and mad about my relationship with Veronica. If Jeniffer can't learn to not be jealous and trust what I tell her, what does that mean for our future? I don't even know.
True, but you're going to have to do some work. You're going to have to reassure her. That's the bid. She's not functionally bidding for that, but that's the bid. It's, Tim, do you love me or do you love her? Can I trust you? So hopefully Tim can communicate to her and detect what she's really trying to communicate through the sarcasm and the yelling.
It's okay. Don't be mad. Like we just got here. Like.
Shut up, you just made me mad. Sorry. I don't want to speak for a moment.
Again, not encouraging. Tells him to shut up. And, you know, he's kind of shutting down a little bit. So are we seeing the beginning of the end? Is this what it looks like? I'm sure y'all know because you've seen this couple before, but is this what happens? She is, how would I characterize her? She attacks, I guess would be the general term, and he withdraws. Is that what we're going to see repeatedly? Or will they pull out of this nose? Of course they don't, because it's 1985's Fiancé, and she's on the single life eventually. And I think I've seen scenes of him and Veronica in other, like Bears All. They were doing a scene where they were watching on Bears All, they were watching Pillow Talk, and I think Tim and Veronica are on Pillow Talk. Anyway.
Like Tim, that would be a huge problem.
You're like a worker, like a man that gets his hands dirty. You want to impress me? I like a man like that.
I'm a manicure kind of guy, not a dirt under the fingernail kind of guy.
What? That's because you're a pussy.
So I recently did a whole episode about toxic masculinity, and I don't know about Colombia, but my co-host Humberto is from Colombia, and he talked about the macho culture, and it's basically toxic masculine culture, and we of course have it in the United States as well. So I don't know about Colombia, but where Jeniffer comes from, and where, you know, Jennifer's talking about her father, but I will talk about, generally speaking, what toxic masculinity is. Masculinity is fine, but there are aspects of it that can be harmful, and there are aspects of it that are neutral and positive. So we have to look at anything, like when we look at cars, for example. There are positive things about cars. It gets me from A to B. Freedom, it's convenient, and there are negative things about cars like, CO2 into the atmosphere and pollution and blah, blah, blah. And you can die in a car accident. You know, there's pros and cons to cars. Well, with masculinity, there are good aspects and bad aspects. And one of the bad aspects of toxic masculinity is that you have to be not a woman. And anything that indicates you might be like a woman makes you a terrible man, and not only a terrible man, but a terrible person. And that's key. Because there's one thing, if someone accuses me, who is socialized masculine, if you accuse me of being a terrible cook or something, I'll be like, okay, I don't really care. But you accuse me of not being a real man, it cuts deep, of like, if you call me, what she just called him, a pussy, because I present masculine, I identify as masculine, I uphold certain ideas of like, I want to be seen as my version of masculinity. It's not, everyone's version is different, but if someone called me that name, that would hurt my feelings. Why is that? Well, that's because society told me that not only are you supposed to make sure you never are associated with anything that is a woman, but if anyone sees you that way, then it makes you a terrible person. It makes you irrelevant as a human being. It makes you weak. It makes you disgusting or something. There's all this connotation. I don't know what's happening here, but she's saying, I need you to be a tough guy for my dad. And in order to be a tough guy for my dad, you got to get into the dirt because he's a farmer. And he's saying, I'm more of a manicure sort of person than getting dirt underneath my fingers, which is fine. That's who he is. Frankly, that's how he presents online and, in person. And so I assume she knew that about him. He dresses fancy. He has fancy cars. He likes fancy things. She said that she's attracted to him for that reason. So if he somehow like tricked her and into believing that he was like a Mike from Squim kind of guy, then we could say, hey, Tim, you tricked her. But he's been presenting a, persona that has been a manicure sort of masculine person, a manicure guy. And I've actually seen some comments, people questioning his sexuality, which I, of course, have no idea about. But, we want to be careful about that sort of thing, because I think he has said very explicitly he's not trans, he's not gay, he's not bi, he is a cisgender, heterosexual male. Just because he manicures or might give off a little bit of a vibe, for some people, that doesn't give us the right as viewers to say that he's lying or that there's something wrong with him or something. That all has to do with this very strange version of masculinity that we impose on everyone. So I don't know if the manicure has something to do with that. But anyway, so she doesn't like that. Okay, I get that. You want him to impress your father. Okay, so just say that. Just say, hey, okay, you're a manicure guy, which, you're allowed to. And that's why I like you to begin with, because, I met you online and I saw all those pictures. But I'm worried that you're not going to impress my dad, and that's going to really make things difficult for us. So could you please kind of change that a little bit? Maybe, get down and dirty with the dirt and kind of be a tough guy for my dad. But even as I say that, it's like you're forcing your partner already to change who they are. It just doesn't seem fair. Like, he should be able to be who he's fine. Anyway, so toxic masculinity, the oppressive nature of it harms everybody. It harms every gender, including men, because it limits people and it results in everyone calling you a pussy if, as she just did, because you like to manicure instead of working in the dirt, which is like, why would that matter? It's like, we all understand that people have the freedom to do what they want with their own bodies, with their own behavior, right? Within reason, as long as it's not harming other people. He has the right to have a manicure. He has the right to dress how he wants to. He has the right to not fake a certain masculinity that he's not into. He has the right to do that, right? And you can't force someone to be that way. Like let it go.
Like, in a controlled environment with, like, dolphins, that would be something maybe pretty, but, like, octopuses and sharks and...
What are you so afraid of?
Well, I'm 38, and I've made it through my entire life without ever having stitches or a broken bone. There's a reason for that.
Okay, again, she doesn't like that about him. Okay, what this tells me is they don't know each other very well. And presumably he's coming down there to get married or to propose or something. And okay, you go on a first date with someone and you're like, you're afraid of the sea. You're kind of a careful person. You're cautious. You don't like seafood. You're a manicure person as opposed to a work in the dirt person. Maybe you're not for me. That's okay. You could be like, that's just not the sort of dude I'm into. But to have this attitude where he has to somehow defend who he is, it's not, and the fact that she couldn't have guessed that already, or did they talk? I don't know. So she's entitled to her preferences. She could be like, not for me. But the judgmentalness that I think she's exhibiting is bothering me. Let's see what happens.
I just don't like anything that requires a life harness or like an oxygen tank. Anything that if a piece of equipment fails, you could die. Like skydiving, rock climbing, scuba diving. Well, maybe tennis. You like tennis?
Yeah, it's totally fine. Okay, so we'll see what she says. So what would be fair, so I'm guessing that she doesn't like what she's hearing. She wants a more macho guy, I guess, or someone who doesn't have caution or fears around those things. It's okay. So what would be a functional way to say it? She'd be like, well, I didn't know that about you. It's fine that you have that. I'll tell you, because for me, I kind of want to do a lot of those things. I want to go scuba diving. I want to go skydiving. And, it'd be nice if we could do those things together. Maybe we can build up to that or something. But, that would, so you can retain your preference and you can even try to influence a little bit while not being critical or judgmental in an unfair way, and not imposing a toxic masculine paradigm on the situation. What she will say will follow. Let's see what happens.
Or like golf, yeah. Just like swinging something.
Are you 8 years old or what? Now you're looking pussier.
Yikes. I don't know if I can watch this couple. I don't know if I can watch this. So she's saying, okay, you can have your preferences, Jennifer. You could be like, oh, bummer. You know, I was looking for a guy who does that kind of stuff. Well, you don't do that kind of stuff. Okay. Or, hey, well, maybe we can build up to that. Or even just like, oh, that's really disappointing that you're afraid of that kind of stuff because I don't want you to be afraid. You know, okay. Instead of anything like that, it's, what are you, 8 years old? This sarcasm that comes out of her, this like cruelty, really. And then this, now you're even pussier. This is represented. Now, Jennifer's not responsible for this. She's, I'm guessing, a part of her culture. Umberto has told me about Colombia's machismo culture. I certainly know about Seattle toxic masculine culture. But these ideas are what destroy people's lives. It destroys little boys and girls' lives, destroys everyone's life. Rape culture is a result of toxic masculinity, and she is propagating toxic masculinity. When we hold these ideas, like you must be a particular sort of man to be a worthy human being, a lot of things get thrown in there. A lot of things that I guess you think are sexy, okay, which you're entitled to, I suppose, but don't force it on someone. But when you add up all the toxic masculine ideas, and there are a lot of fine masculine ideas like being helpful or trying to know things. You know, I manifest my masculinity with my wife by trying to be helpful around the house. I know how to use the fuse box. I know tools. I try to, but it took me a lot of time to learn all this. It's taken me decades to learn how the electrical system works, learn how the HVAC system works, how the plumbing, I've sweat pipes. I did that partially because I wanted to save money, but also partially because I thought of it kind of as a manly thing to do. You know, when something breaks down the house, you fix it. That's how my dad basically was that way. Anyway, does this mean that women can't do that? No, women are just as smart and capable as men in all those areas. They can do that too. But anyway, my point is that there are positive masculine things. I have to remind people that we're not talking about masculinity in general. Walking tall, being proud of yourself, accomplishing things. These things can have positive or at least neutral aspects to them, masculine-wise. The toxic masculine side of it is dominance, never looking like a woman, never expressing your emotions, dominating women sexually and physically and intellectually, mansplaining, manspreading. All that kind of gets lumped into the same thing. And so when you call him a pussy because he is basically saying he likes to be he's not saying he's afraid. He's just saying he likes to be cautious. He likes to be careful. He's conscientious. He doesn't want to, jump out of a plane because what if he gets hurt? He just doesn't want to do that. You could say he's afraid of it, but you could also, he's framing it as he's being cautious. And to call him a pussy there's all these implications there of you are supposed to be unafraid. You're supposed to be unemotional. And it's one thing to give this message to Tim. I'm guessing Tim will be able to withstand it. You give these messages to boys from 0 to 10, and you get what we get in our society. We see the effects of toxic masculinity on young men and teenage boys, the attitudes that they have, the much higher rate of suicide completion. Men and boys are much more likely to succeed in suicide because one, they're much more violent because they're told to be violent. They need, they're told that that's what makes a real man. And they're told not to ask for help because that's being weak. That's being a pussy. Okay. Now, it's not like girls are taught that they can ask for help for those things either, but boys are just particularly told that. And so this, what she's doing right now is such such the tip of the iceberg. And I'm guessing in Colombia, they have a problem with this too. I don't know, but I know in the States we do. It's extremely problematic. Now, again, she's not to blame for it. She's probably exhibiting I'm guessing many of the viewers were right alongside with her of like, yeah, he's a pussy. You know, she's not alone. But this is a social movement that has got to change. All right, well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.